As a cybersecurity professional, have you ever thought to yourself, what the heck is the health of my network right now? Or, I want to know the underlying issues that are actually causing my device's symptoms. No? How about this one? Man, if I could just understand and even know what the issues are that plague my network, then I wouldn't have to come into work this weekend. Well, if that sounds like you or a disgruntled employee that you may or may not know, I got you covered. Sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, and join me as we talk Palo Alto Networks AIOps. Hey guys, let's jump straight into AIOps by Palo Alto Networks. Today we're going to be looking at AIOps infographics and data straight from the Strata Cloud Manager dashboard, which you can see here on my screen. We're not going to go into activations today. We're not going to go into Strata Cloud Manager itself. We're simply just going to walk through the AIOps dashboard and give you all a good overlay of the features and some of the insights that we can see from this technology. So first we will start here with the dashboard. Let me go ahead and minimize this menu. Your dashboard is kind of your landing page for AIOps. There are a few different options up here. You can see this drop down that says more dashboards, and these can increase or decrease depending on which options you select here. For now, I'll leave the ones I have selected. We will not go through all of them, but we will take a look at many of these and show you guys some of the power and potential that we can have from these different dashboards. So your first landing is going to be on this device health page. This is your main dashboard unless you configure it otherwise. And basically this is going to be health metrics for all of your onboarded devices into AIOps. So what that translates here is to all of your managed firewalls, Panorama, M-series appliances, any of your Palo Alto hardware, software, including VMs and containerized images that you may have. You'll see those here. You'll see their host names. You'll see their models, their software versions, the number of alerts that they've generated, which are clickable, and a 30-day score. So if this is something that you've recently set up and data is still feeding into the AIOps itself, then expect these numbers to change slightly as more information becomes available. Over here at the bottom, you can see an overall health score trend. There are different ranges here for the time range. Let's just do 7 days just to make it maybe more accurate and more in the moment for us. And then we can see anywhere from critical to good. And we'll have at different points along this timeline a set of criteria that tell us different metrics. So critical health alerts, active health alerts that are clickable, and we'll take you on to another screen. All right, next let's jump to threat insights, one of my favorite sections. This is going to be in a completely 360 view of your threat landscape among your particular deployment and all your managed devices. Here you're going to see a couple different categories that are familiar to you if you're a fan of our firewall platform and get to spend a lot of time in that. For the 360 view, we have C2, malware, phishing, vulnerabilities, grayware, and sensitive data. That would be like corporate credentials. And it's grayed out here because it's not applicable. And then we also have a protection summary, which goes over enterprise DLP, DNS security, advanced threat prevention, advanced URL, and wildfire. And that's more of our CDSS offerings that you're familiar with. Also too, you do have a time range up here that should be noted. That can go anywhere from 1 hour to 30 days, or you can do a custom time frame. There's also a few other filters you can click here and add to this page to make it look better. Over here on your right, you have a 360 view of all threats. You have top threats, top users, which is useful if you have something like user ID in your environment, and the top rules that are affected too. And it'll show you what threats were allowed through these rules and which were blocked. Also, if you want to see more information here, you simply click on this View Threat Trends button. It's going to take you to a deeper dive and give you a lot more information, including threat names, the users that are affected, if applicable, and actions that were performed on that threat. And you can see the most impacted applications down here. Pretty useful stuff. If you go user ID again, you can see the most impacted users and the rules down here. And if you haven't noticed, there is a link for each one of these to go to more information about that appropriate section. All right, so now let's go back to Threat Insights, and we're going to jump over to, we'll quickly hit on CDSS adoption. This page is going to show you all of your devices, licenses that you have, and where those licenses are or are not applied to the following devices. So for this category, we have 115 registered devices. It'll give you a quick overview saying, hey, this number is not activated, or this number has standard URL filtering and needs to have advanced URL filtering, or hey, 3 of these are actually good. You can see that here in this layout. You can also go to a pie chart to see a different view of that. Nifty if you're getting ready to do a refresh or do a quote to purchase new licensing and you want to actually know without having to go to each individual firewall, or through Panorama which of your devices have what. Next, let's hop on over to network usage. Again, note the time ranges up here as they're applicable to this page. Also, another thing to note before we jump in here is that you have on some of these different dashboards, not every single one, but the majority of these are going to have an option for you to download this data, to share it out through something like email, and also schedule reports. That's right, you can do automatic report scheduling here to push this data out on whatever time interval and whatever basis you deem necessary in your organization. So now instead of having to go through Panorama and figure this out, you can have a much prettier implementation of this. And again, we do have a free AIOps version available for all Palo Alto customers currently to help you with your associated and managed devices. Network Insights, you can see total data transfer here. It's going to show you uploaded, downloaded. It's going to show you the total number of sessions among your entire network infrastructure and your Palo devices. And if you have user ID, it's going to show you those users and the number of users generating traffic. There's some more graphs down here at the bottom that show you time intervals and the data transfer during those times. This is useful if you notice that maybe at a certain time of the day there is network latency, right? Or there's a bottleneck. You could come in here and you could see, hey, you know, at every time there's this giant spike of traffic, and it would allow you to come in here and do some deep dives for that. The number of sessions too comes up. So if you had any issues with session exhaustion, on the firewalls or on the firewalls or Panorama, you'd be able to come in here, get some more insight into that, and kind of figure out more specifically what's going on. Again, if user IDs here, it's going to show you specific users and the traffic they're generating. Very useful if there are questions about users in your environment and you need to get some more information on that. All right, let's scroll back up and we'll check out one of our CDSS dashboards up here. But let's do advanced URL filtering. Again, notice our range of 1 hour. It shows you the total URL requests that were made among all of your Palo Alto hardware and software firewalls, including Panorama. It's going to show you the number of malicious requests that were made from users or processes, services, machines, whatever. And it's going to show you malicious IPs too. If you have the advanced version, it'll show you the number identified in line through our machine learning algorithms and subsystems as well. It gives you risk levels and puts those in nice little percentages with pretty colors. Again, you can see the same over here with your threat category. And if you needed more information, you could manage URL filtering here to look into that. Again, at the top, notice that we do have an option to download data, to reset our filters if we've added any, to share this information out in our organization, or to schedule a report on this information so we can have it the way that we need to in the correct intervals. If you go down, it'll give you a top 10 here. This is for visited domains, and these will show you URLs that were hit the most often and their associated risk level. Again, if you have user ID, it'll show you the total number of users, which provides really good insight into your network architecture, infrastructure, and traffic utilization when it comes time to troubleshoot or make considerations or recommendations on, increasing network, increasing bandwidth, setting up new VLANs, whatever it might be. And you can filter again on this through the logs. You can also see the total visited categories here, if that's relevant information to you. And you can also see geographically where these URL requests, were initiated from. If we continue to scroll down, we can see the top 10 users that visit URLs, which is relevant if you want that kind of information. Again, that would show here with user ID. And the top 10 devices if you have something like IoT security in your environment. Next, let's go ahead and scroll up here and take a gander at Security Posture Insights. This is similar to the health metrics from the very first tab, Device Health, except this is specifically judging the security posture of your managed firewalls and devices. You can see the total onboarded. It has scores from good to critical. And then you can see a top 10 over here of your security posture scoreboard with the associated device and its current score. Now, you're probably asking yourself, okay, John, where are these scores coming from? These scores are coming directly against Palo Alto's BPA, Best Practice Assessment and Recommendations. And so we'll see that here in a little bit. Again, this is similar to the first tab, and you have an overview down here at the bottom. Alrighty, so now let's move on over to best practices. This is exactly what it sounds like. These are the best practices that Palo Alto deems worthy of a true ZTNA, Zero Trust Network Access environment, right? The old way of doing this, some of you may be familiar, you take the tech file, you go to a URL, you upload it, you go through some classification questions, and then you get a printed documentation. It's similar in that you will still need the tech file from the firewalls, but this much more streamlined process now, and you're able to check things in real time as opposed to simply referring to a PDF document to check those things. Here in the top left on this tab, we can see the host and device name and the percentage of checks that were failed. For this top one, we have 100% of checks failed. That tells me that somebody needs to fire the current security engineer and get somebody in there who knows how to set up a basic good practice ACL. No, kidding aside, we do have a couple different sections here. Here's a summary of failed checks. That's going to go over your rules, your profiles, your rule bases. You can scroll down as we click through these. We have identity, which talks about authentication and authentication profiles. We have a network tab, which talks about policy-based forwarding, network profiles, even our zones are in here, and application overrides if we have any of those. And then we also have our service setup, which talks about wildfire, global protect, logging, long forwarding, user ID, high availability, and then general settings on the firewall, as well as a few other things here. So nifty information. There's a lot to go through in here. And again, these numbers are clickable, which will take you over to another screen to remediate and address the current attributes here. You have a best practices checks trending at the bottom, which is historical to you and your trends based on configuration types. And this is also dropped down and able to be manipulated from 1 month to 1 year to see how your security posture has changed for the better or for the worse, but hopefully for the better during that time period. All right, now we're going to go ahead and go over to on-demand BPA. This is where you would simply generate a new BPA report. It's going to ask you for that tech file that we talked about. You'll just pull that off of your managed firewall. This is, of course, disabled for the demo, but they already have a few on here. If you click on View Report, it's going to take you back to this best practice page, and it's going to pull up the information of this firewall in question. You can also do feature adoption, which is going to take you over to this tab. This is very nice for a high-level overview of how applicable your firewall is when it comes to utilization of best practice requirements, right? You can see here a lot of different areas in this circle pie type graph with pretty pink and pastel-ish colors. You can see the different categories we discussed earlier and the percentage of adoption for those. Currently, this 850 has 0% on adoption, which means nothing's adopted and needs to be remediated. Again, we have times over here to check, and you can download this data if you want to take it and present it elsewhere. This is overall adoption, of course. We also have the best practices, which goes into a little bit more information. You can see, at least with the logging here, that according to best practice mode, that every single security role probably has logging on it. At least that's what I would believe for this firewall to get 100% here. And you can go around the circle and figure the rest out for yourselves. But it gives you a good overview here, and I hope this is helpful. And then also over here to the right, we have executive summary. We will click on this. This is probably the nicest high-level overview that we can have on this. It's going to show you, based on your time range, basically an executive summary of your environment. It's going to show you the number of threats that are blocked, malicious URLs, number of files that were malicious that were blocked, and malicious verdicts from wildfire. So pretty awesome. Again, we have this download button up here, this share, and you can schedule reports on this information. We have a tab here a graph that shows us our application usage across our entire environment. Extremely useful information if you're curious as to what type of apps are allowed and flowing. It even gives you the top high-risk apps here that you can scroll through. Sorry about that. And you can actually click on it and it'll take you to a more detailed view. You can also go to the application usage dashboard to see more information. Advanced threat preventions down here. It shows you again that number of the advanced severe threats that were detected and how many were actually blocked. You can see a very small amount were allowed through here, which may not be so small according to your security posture here. But this is something to look at, something to consider, and it's going to give you more information over here on the threats seen in your network. It's going to give you some locations, some types, severity levels, and then the threat count. So this is a 30-day interval. So this would be how many times this tunneling ZXY.ME was seen in your network, 2.4 million. So you can see more details in the View Advanced Threat Prevention tab. Same for URL filtering. Is going to give you the same kind of verdicts and information here. And again, you can see more information in the associated tabs. Wildfires here as well. Enterprise DOP as well if you have that currently enabled. I talked about application usage a moment ago. If we go into that, it's going to give you a much more detailed view of your application and risk. This is made all the better if you have user ID set up in your environment, because you'll be able to see specific users and the applications they are using. Here's your risk categories, and we have the pretty colors. Green means go, red means you better stop and check this out before something blows up. These can be clicked on. It'll give you a more narrow view here of the applications, the number of threats that were detected using that application and hiding in it, and the amount of data that was transferred within your time frame. I have 1 hour here. And again, we have the download, share, and schedule reports feature. You can view traffic logs at any time on this information. Let's go ahead and do that now, just so I can show you. It's going to be familiar to you if you've used the firewall or panorama before. It's going to have the same type of information, columns. You can see here, this is specific for this type of traffic that you click on. So it's already filtered for you, which is nice. You have the different areas over here though, if you want to kind of go through this yourself. And you also have a time frame and intervals that you can pick right over here. But we will go back into where I was. Application usage, right? Let that load back up and scroll down a little bit. You can see top application subcategories, which are very nice for total data utilization across your network. It'll also give you that data itself and the amount of traffic. Top application types with the most data transfer can be seen here, and you can break these up on these subcategories and click through them. Very nice if you're wanting more information specifically about your environment, or if you're being audited and need to know the applications that are seen in your environment. We can scroll down here. We can see top apps by data transfer and look at much more information about that. And then the threats that are associated with these. You can tell this changes with each tab that we click on. FTP, for example, you can see the top 10 threats that were found over file transfer protocol with their associated threat IDs in our threat vault, and the severity of these from low or informational to low to medium to high to critical, and the number of times this was seen. And then again, if you have user ID, you can see the users that are sharing the most data, and that's extremely useful information. Applications using non-standard ports will be here, and then applications that were blocked will be here at the bottom. All right, and then you might have noticed I skipped over a few CDSS things. Advanced threat prevention was one. Wildfire is going to be another one. It's going to be just like our advanced URL that we looked at, so no need to really jump into here. But if you wanted more information on wildfire and how it was working in your environment and it was applicable, this information would be presented in here. If you guys want a separate video on the CDSS, which is Cloud Delivered Security Services, please let me know in the comments. I would love to make those and do some deep dives into those for you. User activity is going to be beneficial if you have a user ID and you can see specific information about a user. Phenomenal if you're trying to find an offender in your network or someone that just keeps clicking on that malicious website and won't stop, and it's causing grief for you and your IT department. You can see the top UL categories for them, the web browsing risk summary for the particular user, which is a great report to have. Again, this can be automated and reported out on a schedule. Phenomenal information, especially for higher ups. You can see blocked URLs that person tried to get access to. You can see the number of severe threats that were found for this user, and that's all nice and pretty here. And then you can see more top severe threats here for that particular user. So now that we've kind of gone through the dashboards, let's take a quick look at incidents and alerts. These are only going to apply through AIOps here on the next generation firewall for the free version. This is going to give you two different tabs at the top: incident trends and all alerts. And you can do it based on time. It has a nice timeline and infographic here for you to look at. As you scroll across it, it'll tell you during that time the critical incident or the warning incidents that were found. And you can have some more information on that by coming down here and clicking on these. It'll take you to another window with more insight. You can also see here the incidents by statuses. Here I am. If you guys need my email address, there it is out in the open. That is cool with me. And then you can see 20 of your most recent incidences down here with the associated CVE applied to it. So pretty cool to be able to go through and check out if you're responding to incidents and things like that. And the only other thing which we briefly talked on was the log viewer. Again, that's going to be under this incidents and alerts, but as you're familiar with the firewall, you're already going to be familiar with this screen. It has everything that the firewall and Panorama can do. And the plus advantage to viewing it in here is, first of all, you don't have to load up into the management plane and try to get access to those devices. But more importantly, all this data is correlated among your dashboard information. So pretty phenomenal stuff. The only other thing I will show you guys here for this video is the next generation firewall devices under monitor, which applies to AIOps specifically. You can see a nice little, I don't know what you call this, like a bubble chart, or I mean, I don't know. It reminds me of Easter and some little kid blowing bubbles or something. You can group by model. You can do a template stack. You can do software versions, so you can get some high-level overviews. You can even group them by their health scores. Or device groups if you have those associated through Panorama. But we will leave it models for now. You can also do a security view of these, and it'll give you quick insights, so you don't have to click around and try to figure all this stuff out on your own. You can click into it. It'll take you to another deeper level, give you some information over here. And again, this can be viewed in a table, which gives you, if you're more of like an Excel kind of guy or girl, not like I am, well, Excel guy, not girl, of course, but it's 2024, I'm not judging. But you can look here and go across left to right and see some more detailed information, and you get to export this data. So if you've made it this far with me, congratulations, because you are one step closer to increasing your organization's security posture with Palo Alto Networks AIOps. Truly a remarkable piece of technology. I've loved to see the development of it so far, and we got bigger and better works planned in the future. So stay tuned with me, John, that Palo Alto guy. If you have any questions, comment down below, like, subscribe. Stay tuned for the next one. Thanks, guys.
Okay, and we need some hand movement.
AIOps.
Not necessarily that, but
AIOps. Can you come smell this real quick? I don't like this hunch over. I feel like this is falling. This is falling.
Okay, that just did.